Hello guys, welcome to my channel, Fantastic Recaps. Today, I am going to recap first 8 episodes of season 1 of a very popular series, Servant of the People. This is a Ukrainian satire comedy featuring present President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky. This fictional drama series is about his rise from being a history teacher to becoming President of Ukraine after a viral video filmed by one of his students shows him making a profane rant against government corruption in his country. Before we delve further into the video, please take some time to consider subscribing to my channel and pressing the bell icon to stay notified about all my upcoming recaps, because considerable efforts have gone into making this interesting video for you all. The series starts with 3 oligarchs discussing the elections, coming to the conclusion that this time they will let whichever one of their candidates win without spending any more money on interference. That scene cuts to an argument between Peter Vasilievich, Vasily's father, and a neighbor. Volodymyr Zelensky's character name is Vasily. Then we see that Vasily wakes up, who, realizing overslept, now needs to rush to get ready for his job as a history teacher. He requests his mother to iron his shirt. His mother says sick people are waiting for her. Then he asks his niece, Natasha, to press her shirt. Natasha says he should do it himself. After that, we see that some people come to meet Vasily. Yuri Elvanovich, Prime Minister of Ukraine, congratulates him on becoming the President of Ukraine. On car with Yuri, Vasily watches a news report detailing the election results, confirming his victory, leading to hilarious reactions of other candidates and foreign leader. Despite still being baffled by this reality, Vasily remembers why he got elected because of a viral video. What follows is a whirlwind day of photo shoots and conferences while Vasily tries to juggle his normal responsibilities with that being of the president. At one point he remarks that he must repay a bank loan and then he must go to a teacher's meeting. He's expecting to be reprimanded. In a flashback to the aftermath of his video going viral on YouTube, where the administration was furious with him. But instead, he is met with flowers, a replica mace, and a song praising the coming of Jesus, which makes Vasily visibly awkward. Next, we see that next morning, Vasily, being a president, notices how all members of his family begin to serve him. His mom irons his shirt and Natasha polishes all his shoes and his dad makes him coffee. Then the doorbell rings and Vasily opens the door and his sister comes in. But his sister does not know at all that her brother is the new president of Ukraine. She faints when she realizes it. Next, we see Yuri showing Vasily the health and beauty department. Yuri introduces Vasily to an entire team including barber, makeup artist, the beautician, stylist, peeling master, and tan specialist. They all prepare Vasily for the inauguration. The 3 oligarchs from the beginning are being briefed about Vasily and his family. They are informed that his father was a builder and mother is a neurologist. After passing from high school, Vasily enrolled in law school but soon withdrew and got enrolled in history because he came to know that his father had paid bribe for getting him into law school. After his graduation, he married with Olga Mischenko. A year later, their son, Dima, was born. 2 years later, the couple got a divorce due to bad financial conditions. On the other hand, we see Vasily's sister who is listening to the news. The news is about past blunders at the inauguration ceremony of earlier presidents and wondering how the women of the Vasily family are dressed. Then she says we need clothes and tells her mom and sister that she knows a place that has fake name brand clothes. She calls her father and they go for shopping together, but when they go out, the media starts asking them about Vasily. On the other hand, Yuri introduces Vasily to all the people of the department. Vasily says that he thinks they can do the inauguration now. But Yuri says that before that, he wants to introduce him to the presidential advisors and authorized agents. Seeing an army of people, Vasily gets nervous. Meanwhile, the oligarchs are beginning to provide certificates about Vasily. We see that a couple of policemen ask the Vasily's dad if they can do something about comedians who make fun of policemen. Vasily's dad says he will talk to the president about it. Then suddenly Sveta and her mother come out from shopping mall and everyone is very happy because they got everything at 100% discount. After that, we see that Yuri takes Vasily to the president's home and introduces all the servants there. Now we see that the Vasily is preparing for the inauguration. Vasily's mother gives him the briefcase and puts a pin on his shirt and says it will protect him from the evil eye. Now his dad tells him good luck and Vasily leaves. Yuri says to Vasily that he really enjoyed his inauguration. He can cleverly talk for a long time without making any real promises. Vasily goes to get into the car, but he doesn't have a car there. Yuri says the car has gone for repair and asks him to get into another car. But Vasily leaves. Everyone runs after him to stop Vasily, but he goes and gets on a bus. On the other hand, we see that Vasily's dad starts heating the food in the oven. But the oven does not work. He says to his wife that they have been living in this house for many years and the condition of his house has deteriorated. And the car he drives sometimes runs and sometimes it doesn't. He asks how he can drive that car now when he is president's dad. On the other hand, we see that Yuri says to Vasily that it is unacceptable for them to have a fleet of cars because a president is a public servant. Vasily says that the public elected him a president. Vasily says, "We serve them, we are servants." Then Vasily tells all the guards that you guys can leave, I don't need your help. He says that I'm a normal person and I've never hurt anyone, so I don't need any security. On the other hand, we see that Vasily's dad brings a new TV, cleaning robot machine, and a new car, and even a lot of things in the house, and he is very happy. His wife asks him how he will give the money for all these things. He replies that Vasily will handle everything. On the other hand, we are shown Yuri introducing Vasily to his secretary Bella. Bella tells Yuri that the previous president has locked himself in the office and has a gun. He does not want to concede defeat. Vasily asks Bella what is going on. Bella tells him that Sergei is demanding vodka and political asylum to Yugoslavia. Yuri then knocks on the office door and says, "Sergei, my friend," opens the door, but he shoots from inside, due to which there is a hole in the door, and Sergei comes out and locks Vasily and Bella in a room. After that, Sergei cries and says to Yuri that he wants to do the voting again and there was a mistake in the voting. Sergei says that this time he will count the votes himself. But Yuri tries to convince Sergei that there is no mistake in counting the votes, but Sergei says, "Yuri, my friend, I hope you will do something for me," and then he leaves crying. Yuri then tells Bella that they should call the SWAT team. But Vasily says there's no need. He'll try to make Sergei understand the situation. Then Yuri says to Vasily, "Can you do it?" Then Vasily remembers the time when one of the teachers in his school gets old and the principal hires another teacher in his place, but he is not ready to leave the school, which worries the principal. Then Vasily talks to him and finally convinces him to leave school. We then see Vasily and Sergei shake hands, and Sergei says that now I am at ease. Now Ukraine is in good hands. We then see Vasily in his office. Then Bella comes in and gives him some files about the situation in the country and briefs him about it. Then Bella brings green tea for Vasily. Yuri comes in and says they will meet cabinet in 30 minutes. Vasily says, "Do you guys know that my office has annual budget of 200 million? Bella says it's monthly. Yuri then says that they are late. Vasily says that they will talk about this later, let's go now. As they leave, Vasily sees a map and asks what it is. Yuri says that this is world map and it is handmade. Vasily says that I will remove all these things from this office. On the other side, we see that Vasily's father decides to make several expensive purchases for the home as now he is the president's dad. On the other hand, Vasily and Yuri are standing on the bus stop and they are waiting for the bus. Then suddenly many cars pass from there fastly. Vasily asks who are these. Yuri tells they are ministers rushing to meet him, the president. Vasily reaches at cabinet and everyone welcomes the Vasily with clappings. After that, Yuri introduces Vasily to everyone. First, he introduces him to the finance minister. Vasily gets the vision of Che Guevara, who tells him that this finance minister is a thief and embezzler of funds. Then Vasily meets the health minister who bought an entire island with taxpayers' money meant for children's medicines. Vasily had read about all this in the news. Then Vasily's vision asks him, "Can you really change these people?" He tells Vasily that he is the president, now you have to judge them. We then see Yuri giving Vasily a mace as a gift. Vasily tells them that apathy and cynicism perplex him. Then Vasily asks them all, "Do any of you have any humanity left? You all think about your children and family. There are so many people who can't buy a pair of shoes for their children." But all this was in his vision only. In reality, he says that they all will help him in serving Ukraine. Yuri says to Vasily that his words were brilliant. On the other hand, we see that the Vasily's dad is showing a man his house, and he shows him the dining table, tea of cup and room of Vasily. The man also meets with Vasily's mother Petya. The man then leaves saying he will come again to see this place. Meanwhile, we see that in the parliament all the deputies were fighting and Vasily arrives. Vasily asks why are they all fighting, but no one listens to Vasily. He tells everyone that Putin has been deposed. Then everyone stops fighting and sits down. After that, Vasily takes out dairy from his bag and says to all of them that he will start his speech with democracy. Vasily says that they are the servants of the people, and democracy means rules of the people. He says that the public hires them, including him, for the job. Vasily says that they are public servants, and asks where does it say that the servant should live better. Vasily says that instead of serving the public, they are the lackeys of oligarchs. Vasily says he proposes to amend the law on the status of civil servants. First, to discard the official use of limousines, residents, and resorts. Second, to reduce the bloated staff of useless aides and freeloaders. Third, to improve their work efficiency, all move under one roof at the Expo Center. In the next scene, we see three oligarchs who were talking about Vasily. One of them says, "I fear that soon we'll all have to flee the country." In next scene, we see that Vasily's dad talking to the fiction writer Davidov about selling his apartment. Davidov says he will write a bestseller on this apartment. And then there comes Vasily and he asks his dad who are they. Vasily's dad says that he is renting it out. But Vasily tells them that this apartment is not for rent and then they leave from there. After that we see Yuri asking the guards how can they lose the president. Now they will have to answer to the head of the state security. The guard tells Yuri that the psychics say the president is alive and he is in a closed area with strangers. We are then shown Vasily teaching the children at the school. Then the news shows that the president reminded lawmakers that they are servants of the people and emphasized that they should live in more modesty and spend taxpayers' money wisely. Then a news reporter says that it's Monday morning in downtown Kiev, but it is peaceful because yesterday parliament and government offices were moved. It appears that president is creating history. News anchor terms it as a great migration of 21st century. After that we see Yuri telling Vasily that next time you go somewhere, send me a message. Vasily says that his mobile battery was dead. Yuri tells Vasily that his speech caused a ruckus. Now there is less pollution and the oil barons are worried. All the ministers and parliamentarians are riding bikes including Yuri. Vasily says that he is pleasantly surprised. Vasily then goes to his office. Yuri asks him whether he liked his new office. Vasily says it's charming. Then Vasily sees a painting on the wall and asks if it is made of gold. Yuri says that as the head of state you will get such VIP gifts. Then Yuri takes Vasily to show parliament. Yuri says that here, people's deputies will serve their time. They will work in this room. Yuri says we made cuts in the parliament. After that they go to cafe for coffee but they see in news a news reporter questioning whether the lawmakers were implementing Vasily's law. She terms everything as an air castle for the people to throw dust in their eyes by creating the illusion of reform. But Yuri tells Vasily that it's just paid news report so don't take it too seriously. Vasily says that you and your colleagues have been behind the wheel for a quarter of the century and where are the changes? There are no changes, no reforms and you are hugely in red. Then we see Bella prepares the order to combatively fill the quota posts as directed by Vasily. She tells him that psychologists, polygraph testers and others are invited. She says tonight it will be announced on channels and all social networks. Then we see that Vasily went to home and there he met with his wife and his son Dima. Vasily's wife says that she noticed that your courtyard looks quite puffed up. She says, Mr. President, please don't show your son documentaries about Mesopotamia because he won't sleep afterwards. On the other hand, we see that the oligarchs are watching a football match where they are the owners of different teams. Then Yuri comes and it is revealed that he is their partner. One of them asks Yuri why the president is appointing his own people. Yuri says, let him play a little with democracy and reforms. After that we see that Bella gives Vasily an application for the head of the central bank. Vasily asks how will he find time for everyone, because he has not even selected the head of the tax service yet. Now we see a reporter questioning Yuri where she alleges that the competitive hiring is for the show only because the posts will be given to insiders. But Yuri assures that the selection process is very rigorous. It even includes a polygraph test. He says that he himself will select the ministers. Then we see Bella telling the candidates that the interview will start in a few minutes. Vasily tells the candidates that he wants to warn them in advance. The pay is low, mere 3,000 hryvnias per month. But no one leaves. Suddenly Yuri's aide tells them that for major corruption charges there will be death sentence. We notice that everyone has left the place except for the two men, one of whom could neither speak nor hear. We are then shown Vasily's son, Dima, who is watching the news. Dima's aunt tells him to have breakfast. Dima says that his dad is going to appear in news. Vasily's dad says he should have taken his son to the zoo. Then we see that Bella tells Vasily about the winners for job competition. Vasily meets with Igor Vasilievich, Central Bank Minister, Mikhail, Future Defense Minister, Vasily, Head of Security Service, Anatoly, Future Foreign Minister, Alpha, Head of Tax Services. Then Vasily says to them, we will improve our country together. Suddenly Yuri comes and asks Vasily to sign the candidates list. When Vasily sees the list he asks Yuri, how do you know who won the hiring contest? Vasily realizes that everything was just a ruse and the whole selection process was fixed. Then we see that Vasily was speaking with his wife. Vasily says, why didn't I guess they were Yuri's people? A news anchor reports that it appears that the first clash between the parliament and president is brewing. Then we see Vasily who addresses the public saying that they elected him as president of Ukraine. He says that he has spent a lot of time looking for the right team of honest people and informs that he has found his team. Now we see Yuri asking Vasily about his team. Yuri says that Alia is your ex-wife. Vasily says she is professional. She burns with desire to help the country. But Vasily remembers that his wife had protested against the idea of making her chief of central bank. Vasily reminds her that she has a degree with honors in economy. Vasily asks her to think about it. Then Yuri asks about the defense minister because Vasily has selected a captain to be defense minister. Vasily tells him that Captain Sharik is highly respected even by more senior officers. But Vasily remembers how Sharik is treated badly by his superiors. Then Yuri says that Vasily's choice for security service chief is absolutely hilarious because he has selected his teacher for this post. Vasily says that she was his homeroom teacher and she maintained absolute discipline in her class. At the same time, Bella comes in and tells Vasily that the parliamentarians are waiting for him. Then we see that Vasily says, "Dear lawmakers, I'd like to present you the candidates who will help our nation out of a deep pit." Then Vasily introduces his candidates with the lawmakers. Holding an open competition for ministerial positions turns out to be a big mistake, because the old government and the oligarchs decide to get the best positions for their people. The president finds out about it by accident. Therefore, he decides to offer positions to trusted people whom he personally knows. However, it is not known whether the members of parliament will support his candidates. The episode ends with this. Thanks for watching. Rest of the season will be covered in next videos.